I'm the lifestyle reporter for Fox Carolina's entertainment show called Access Carolina.
I'll get up at a karaoke bar and sing my heart out.
Yes. Oh my gosh, my child made that for me. And this is such a cool story because it actually relates to what we're talking about today. And I'm like, pop off. Like, tell me about the drawing.
And I think you can't replicate authenticity with anything other than authenticity. Like if it's artificial at all, people know.
Very true.
They know.
Very true.
What's something cool that you recently seen? Let's shout somebody out. Let's talk something cool.
Oh, okay.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Barndo Show. I'm here with my friend Ava. I'm so excited to have you on the show, the Queen of the Upstate, right?
Wow, what a title.
The Queen of Community.
Thrilled to be here. I like that title better. That's a good one. Thank you for having me, TJ.
Tell everybody a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Yeah, so I'm the lifestyle reporter for Fox Carolina's entertainment show called Access Carolina. So it is all the fun stuff happening across the upstate, fundraisers, festivals, food and drink, musicians, anything that you are wanting to go to, I want to cover. So it's live every day, for better or for worse, and re-airs again in the afternoon. So it's a blast to be able to share what's going on in the upstate. As you know, it's growing so much.
It's insane.
It's insane.
We were talking before we got on here. I was like, I follow you on social, and I'm like, you're the busiest person I've ever seen in my life.
And coming from you, right? I mean, yeah, I do suffer from like a little bit of FOMO, which I think has helped my career a lot. Yeah. I hate to miss things. And, even this, I'm like, okay, I want to fit this in. I got to get dinner later. I want to go to the concert. It's just, I'm definitely not a no girl. I'm a yes girl.
Yeah, that's evident. That's
evident. I know.
Well, the cool thing about it is like, I followed you because I seen you on TV, and then we ended up connecting and doing a segment, and like it was really cool to like see the company kind of get some feature airtime and stuff, and like but the cooler thing was I just see you everywhere. So like you MC events, you do like anything to do with this community. I'm like, it's got to be Ava. Like I went to an award ceremony the other day. I don't even remember what. Best of the Upstate or something, and I was like, any minute, I'm just waiting on Ava to walk out. And no, she's actually here to win awards. Like, right. Okay. But yeah. So it's cool. And one thing about us is like, I'm big on community. I believe in building community, not just building houses, and that it's a passion. And so, like, just trying to get intertwined with that leads me to interesting conversations, and that's why I got you here, because you're not a local, but you are the face of the Upstate. And so talk a little bit about that, like what that was like.
Well, yeah, I mean, you bring up emceeing, and that was something I didn't really foresee myself getting into in Greenville. I came from a station in Virginia, and really towards the tail end of my career, someone asked me to MC their gala, their fundraiser, and it was like, okay, I mean, I'll put on a nice dress and kind of read off some names. But then here, it really took on a life of its own. And as a joke, I called myself one day Greenville's hype girl, and it really is just like, in an amazing way, like blessed by the Lord, just taken off. And like so many people are like, bring the energy. And I'm like, you're going to pay for that? Okay. Like, sure. And it's been amazing because I think, being on air, it's like I am supposed to talk about a certain thing and like keep the conversation guided. But then when I'm seeing, it's like, hey, no cameras, none of that. Let's just celebrate you. And so, building community, that's like a big one that I've been able to have like post-camera life, when the cameras are off, when I leave the station, it's like, wow, I get a whole nother avenue to connect with people and celebrate wins at awards nights. And it's been amazing.
I know you're like besties with everybody now.
Yeah, so it's like I would say Greenville's the friendliest town though. It's not that hard. Everybody has been so nice. And, my role is to highlight small businesses. Like that's how we got connected anyways. And so there's such a backbone to Greenville of small business is to understand their stories, to be able to share their stories. I mean, it's a win-win.
For sure. How did you get to Greenville?
LinkedIn. I'm going to be honest. I'm so embarrassed. I hadn't heard of Greenville because it's ranking like every chart of all things. Yep. But yeah, my contract was ending. I was on LinkedIn. It was like live reporter. And it was like, I've never done live before. Like, let's hit it. And so flew here for like 36 hours, just walked down Camperdown Plaza. They knew what they were doing. I was in love instantly. And so came literally and started work like 4 days later. I didn't even have time to like move in or anything. And it was the biggest blessing because I think the best way to learn is just getting into it. And so figuring out how to do live, how to write, like have, my voices in my head from my producer of like 30 seconds more, add more time, like get to know their story, but also like be genuine. It's like, wow, it's a lot going on. But it's a dance, like finding out how to read the room and like, you know, sometimes they're a little more introverted. And so it's like, okay, like let's dial Ava back a little bit, you know, and you kind of like, it's a dance. So I love it when I get to interview extroverts and things like that. But growing up, I was always pretty introverted, which is kind of funny. I was not first to speak. I was just more of a watcher, a listener.
Me too.
But yeah, okay, that's funny.
Yeah. I tell everybody I'm an extroverted introvert. Like really, I just want to be alone.
Isn't it like an ambivert or what's it called? There's a word for that.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not smart enough to know that.
I clearly am not either. We're hybrids. We are hybrids. But I wouldn't shy away from like a one-on-one conversation. I always like was so quick to gravitate toward like, I don't know, meaty conversations. So in college though is when I kind of discovered I wanted to do the TV thing. And I mean, I just was like, I need to get in front of people. I need to have a mic. And so whatever that looked like, whether it was like, you know, I was my school's mascot for like a year and it was a blast, you know, and that actually didn't have a mic or really any sort of camera presence, but it was getting in front of people, completely broke the fourth wall, right? You're in like a whole eagle outfit and you're like, fight. And so then that led to like emceeing, you know, for games and then rink hosting for hockey events and just literally having no self-awareness in the best way possible. Just like, you know, whatever happens. I'm here to entertain and get to know whoever's in front of me.
Well, what's funny is like you put on that costume and you got to do what you wanted to do, but you didn't have to be you for a minute. Yeah. And it gave you permission. And so people ask me all the time, like, TJ, how did you get where you can just talk and like do whatever, you know, then you put me on the spot that like we shoot content and stuff and they're like, one take TJ, because I could just come off. And like I was in a band growing up and like I never had imagined that I would do that. Like there was nothing inside of me that was like, get up in front of people and do something, especially like be a vocalist or something like that. And so, you know, it was like a metal band. So it's like, it wasn't like I have some amazing voice. I was just hanging out with my friends and they were playing music. I was like, this is awesome. Like, you guys don't do like words though? This is kind of weird. And they're like, well, we're looking for a guy.
Can we get a sample perhaps?
Absolutely not.
No.
Shoot. I ain't got time to get signed. You know, I'm busy.
You got the hair. Bro, you watching? You guys got rocker hair under there.
I have to keep it tucked in. This is business. But seriously, that they played something, and I was like, "That's just yelling. Like I could do that." Yeah. And I just started doing it, and then getting on stage. It wasn't me getting up and talking or doing any of that stuff. It was just I did this thing, and it was such a release for me because it was like I'm connecting with people. It's music. Everybody loves music, right? Mm-hmm. And like it was almost like allowed me to be me publicly, and from that, I just natural. Like I'm always, and I'm very direct, I guess. Like I just always speak what I say, and like my wife, she's more. So it's funny. Like it's a constant source of struggle for us because my wife is like she's like I'll dance, she'd do the thing. Not me. No way. Like mortified, like what? Not happening.
Cupid shuffle comes on.
Like what's the? No, I can't do it. No, I'm probably good at it.
She still married you?
At least I don't tell myself like I'll do it, but like I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
And you know, Hootie said like, you know, like he don't dance, she don't sing. That's us. And like I'll get up at a karaoke bar and sing my heart out.
Yes. Yeah.
But I'm not dancing in front of people. And my wife's like a social butterfly. She's just like, woo, let's talk about all the things, do the things, let's look like idiots, you know. Like, right. And I'm like just very like, But I'm very direct and like you don't wonder what TJ's thinking because I just say it. And my wife's always like, you everyone thinks you're mean. And I'm like, no, there's no way.
Good. Yeah. Got them right where they want them.
Yeah. Right. It's good for my daughter's friends. My daughter, we were somewhere and someone was like, that guy's scary. And Bella Ray was like, that's my dad. They were like, he's intimidating. And I'm like, that's right. It's working.
That's right.
Working.
That's right. No, I don't think there's anything wrong with saying what you're thinking.
No, it saves me time. Mm-hmm. And so, but there's an element of it because I am kind of like the face of Barndo, and there was not really a lot of intentionality behind it. It was just like, hey, we need to do these things. And then some people, you see this every day. People get on camera and they're like the Ricky Bobby moment, like, right. Tell me what your name is and what you do. Pass.
Right.
And and I just have the gift of gab. Like if there's one thing that I can do is talk. And you know, I've made it work for me.
Yeah. But also, you know, gabbing, it's real. Like you're not filtering your thoughts through any sort of like, okay, I'm going to be this TJ now. You're just TJ.
I'm just me all the time.
One take TJ.
Yeah, whether it's good or bad.
Yes, I know, right? For better, for worse.
But it's fun because it opened up a whole world of possibility and like, you know, to give voice to things and I guess my biggest passion is like giving and just anything I see, like and it's almost to a curse. Like if I see something, I'm like, this could be so much better if this, and this. And so, I had to learn how to say that in a supportive way so that people don't come across like, who's this jerk? But like this platform gives me the ability to like put a voice on things and put, people in the spotlight and connect. And, we do a lot of things with a lot of people, and we get a lot of people like motivated and behind things. Like our culture in the business has been really good. And it's fun because I get to kind of sit in this role where I'm focused on the people, not the product at all. The product can be what it is. Like it gets better and better because I let people make those decisions that are smarter than me. Like Nick, he's been in here before. He's super smart. He's a construction guy like that. He needs to make the decision. Alicia, she's director of sales. She makes decisions on products. My conversations are all about the people. Like when I sit down and have one-on-ones, very rarely am I concerned about how many closings you got or, what's your production schedule look like. I'm like, hey, what's your big dream? And like, It's just, I don't think people are used to it.
No, it changes the entire climate of the conversation.
Yeah. And I guess with you get to do it on like, cause you meet with small businesses every day, all day. And you give people the opportunity to tell their story, even if they can't quite tell it. And like, then you bring all your big energy behind it, and like they have this moment, and it's really cool. And that's the whole purpose of this for me is like help people win, show people positivity, and create an environment where people could be the best versions of themselves. Every person that I hire, I tell them two things. One is this: either A, I hope you become the best version of yourself and you retire here. That'd be great for me, but I'm not selfish. So I hope that in becoming the best version of yourself that you outgrow me. And I hope it opens up doors for you to do anything you ever wanted to do, and don't lose sight of that. Like, we were joking for here. You're like, hey, you put family first on a lot of things. And I have people tell me that all the time, but internally it's a struggle for me where I feel like I'm not doing enough to be family focused because it's so important to me. Like I'm constantly trying to raise that bar in my own life. Like how can I spend more one-on-one time with my kids? How can I be more involved with their things? How can I create more space for that? But the cool side of that is in my company, I do the same. Like, hey, if you like, when I have this conversation, like, hey, what's your kids doing? Like, what are you doing? Like, when's the last time you took your wife on a date? And I have those conversations. And the first couple of times people don't know how to take it. They're like, what in the world? This guy's all up in my business.
They're like, does Chick-fil-A on their way home from soccer practice count? Right.
Yeah. But it being intentional with community is simple.
So how strategic are you to like create a circle that like holds you accountable to that? Or did you just get blessed with amazing friends? Because I feel like you have an amazing circle around you.
I do, but honestly, I bought it. One of the things that changed my life forever was joining a group of guys. He's been on the show. Nick Alfano is one of my best friends. And it's funny because he and I had a conversation a couple days ago. He called me just out of the blue, and I was like, "What's up, buddy?" Like we don't even talk that much, but he was such an influence in my life. Like, and I've got another coach that I work with now. He's actually part of the team now. Like the first time we met, he was like, "You can't be known for everything. You got to get it consolidated. What are the things you're most passionate about?" And so, like I want to be a good husband, I want to be a good father, I want to be a business leader, and I want to be a philanthropist. I want to be able to give. Those are my 4 things. I got to focus on those 4 things. Being a friend is not one of those things. And so if I have to make a decision between be a good buddy and take the fishing trip and do the things, which I do.
Sure.
But if I have to choose between it and one of the 4 buckets, the 4 buckets win. And it's not an emotional thing for me anymore. It's just straight business. I don't have to tell you why. I just have to say no. And that's hard for me because I like to say yes. I'm a yes man, right? So
felt that, yeah.
That was a big shift in finding balance. Was learning that I can say no and it's not a bad thing, and focusing on where it matters. And so like I joined a group, and through that group, like Ross went through the same thing with me. We joined that together. So but I built this relationship with Nick Alfano, and the whole thing behind him is like reprogramming you. Like everything you've ever known to be true, there's a reason for it, and here's how you fix it. Like if you want this amazing relationship with your spouse, you have to work for it. If you want this, you have to work for it. And like that connection takes place inside of an entrepreneur's mind automatically.
Okay.
Because like why are you doing this? Because you want money, or you want success, or you want fame, and it takes work, and you're willing to put in hundreds of hours of work. but then you like, oh, my home life's not what I want, but I'm not willing to work on that. Like, so it's kind of like getting those people to hold you accountable to things in your life to put focus where it's important. And so like I did that. And then, coaching has been revolutionary to me. And like, I'm a man of faith. I go to church. I have great leaders in my life in that aspect, but I never had anybody who would just look me in the face and be like, you're full of it. You're wrong. And the moment that I allowed that in, it allowed me to collapse time, because you're your biggest enemy in all those regards. And so like, you want to have intentionality with community, then focus on community. Don't just talk about it because it sounds good, because other people are talking about it.
Yeah. Engage
with it. Do something about it. And so I started being strategic with that. And so, yeah, again, everything, like, there's no way this happens without a God for me, right? So, like, in that moment, me and my business partner, Ross, who own this together, he's everything I'm not, and vice versa. So he had the ability to go and produce and do the things and make the product. And I, since the beginning, have just got to focus on the people aspect. And like, that's where I thrive. I thrive helping people figure out what is a dream. I got a bunch of young people on my staff, and I'll just pop in their office and be like, what makes you light up with fire? And they're like, I kind of like watching shows. And I'm like, that sucks. Like, we
gotta work on that.
Yeah. Like, what are you doing this for? And so that's just been a piece of who I am. And like, there's so much strength, and like, I don't see competition. Everything's community to me.
Yeah. That's so good.
Well, so many people get caught up in it. And I think there is, it's thrown around a lot because a lot of people want to say it, but they don't really believe it, because they really do care what their competitors are doing, right? Secretly, like, you follow everything they do on social, and every time you see them do a slam dunk, you're like, oh my God, I'm behind.
Right. What piece inside of you dies, right?
I just don't have that anymore.
I love that.
And it took intentionality to realize, like, that it doesn't matter. It does not matter if someone does more than me or less than me or the same as me. I can only control me.
Right.
So I just try to wake up and be intentional with it.
Well, it's such a waste of time. Very similar to what you're saying about being direct. Like, one, you avoid miscommunications, but also with comparing yourself and being competitive, such a waste of time, because you're not only wasting time achieving things you could be achieving in your own lane. They don't care. It doesn't make no mind to them, because they're still doing what they're doing, what they're called to be doing. So yeah, the comparison, the competitiveness, I think in the media world specifically, there's like, oh, they got the story first, or like, oh, they got the scoop, or oh, they chose them to do the story. It's like, go you, good for them, because they probably worked on the relationship. Like, they built that community with that person, and like, they're reaping what they sowed, Right. So that's definitely something that can creep up in the media world, but you find the stories that are going to be good for you, and it's like, oh, didn't get that one, but like, maybe tomorrow someone's going to call me about something else. So being positive, and competitiveness is truly the thief of success in any field.
Oh, it is. Well, and look, we're all fierce competitors. That's why we're here, because just to make it, you have to have something wrong with you. Like, right. I told somebody the other day, they were like, what do you think the number one secret to entrepreneurship is? I was like, be a lunatic.
A little bit of crazy.
You got to be a lunatic to be able to endure. But at the end of the day, like, you're better together. Like, and so there's no way that I could ever meet the needs of every person in the space that needs the product that I have, do all the things. Like, to me, it's a blessing. Because like, I don't know, there's just nothing in me that's competitive. Like, I want people to win, and sometimes like people like cock their eyebrow, like, are you really going to give that away? And I'm like, yes, because I wish someone would have given it to me. It would have saved me so much time, so much heartache, and so much suffering if someone would have just been truthful and told me what to expect. And for me, it's just like I say, like, if they win, it does not make me lose, and vice versa. If they fall on their face, like, it doesn't affect me at all either. Like, and I think people get so tied up in the sensationalism of that, like, oh, my biggest competitor just went down, like, how much can I reap from this? But the flip side of that is, if you stumbled,
right,
you would be so like, well, I can't believe they're trying to profit on my loss, and like, it's just weird. It's weird how people get there. So I'm all about community and like tying it together. And we were just sitting there in my office talking about like featuring stuff on here, and Haley in my office was like, you have to talk to Ava. Like, and I was like, that's a great idea, because you live it. You are the mouthpiece of the community for everything. I mean, you do. It's not uncommon to see you like you're here with this business, and then you're here because this event, and then you're here with this nonprofit, and you're doing this with this person. Like, you have woven the web between so many businesses, and allowed us all to collaborate, even if we don't know each other. Like, you do a story on something, I'm Googling them, I'm doing things like.
Oh, awesome!
So it's like, it's so important. It's so important to do it. So from your perspective, what are the things that really like gas you up to like be involved with? Like, what are the things you're passionate about? Because you got a job, but then you have like, you're passionate about people, I could tell, but like, what really lights you up?
That's a great question. I think seeing people who are like, I could never talk about like me, I could never share like the behind the scenes of how like hard it is without getting emotional, or the hard, the ups and downs. And then like, I don't know, I get to all my shoots early, like really early. And I want to make sure that like we're laughing, we're talking, we're just getting prepped and primed, as they say. But really the first couple questions, like it can be rocky sometimes, but really what lights my fire is like, I'll ask something, just like not even really relevant to the conversation, just like, oh my gosh, this is so cool, tell me about this. And they're like, oh my gosh, my child made that for me, and this is such a cool story because it actually relates to what we're talking about today. And I'm like, pop off, like tell me about the drawing, because I know now like they're comfortable, they're excited to talk about whatever they're going to be talking about. And it's really just like the fire that lights up in other people's eyes that like lights mine. So, and kind of same thing like with the anti-competitiveness. It's like, I prefer not to talk in interviews. Like, I just want to give you like a little tee up and like go off to the races. Like that's how I conduct most of my interviews. So yeah, while I am like a big personality, like I like to have my little quips here and there, my goal is really to just like let them talk. And so seeing them get excited and knowing that like I kind of propped him up in that way, I'm like, let's go, God, like we did it, I love that. I love that.
That's awesome. If you had to give some advice, so here, because without a shadow of a doubt, if you're looking at like the value of your business, right? If you're a business owner and you're looking at like, how is my business evaluated? There's just as much value in your community presence and your culture as there is your bottom dollar. And that's true in investors and clients and customers. They like to know, it's a cool moment for us. Like this past weekend, we donated $148,000 to the Carolina Miracle League. Yeah.
Awesome.
Crazy moment. And doing it, like the goal was 100, and we thought that was impossible. And then we rallied around and almost, it was insane. We did over 4 times what we gave last year. And in that moment, it was kind of surreal. And I remember coming home, and I talked about this on some other episodes, but like sitting there, my wife's like, what's going on? I was like, wasn't like people made this possible. Like people bought the product, and as a result, this happens. It's not even my money. Like it's community. It's part of who we are. And like everybody's rallied around it. And it's so much bigger than me. Because I didn't even know if 100 grand was possible. Like I was kind of hesitant throwing that number around. And then I remember walking in and seeing that like they wrote that big check and they had it in my office. And I was like, wow, I can't believe we're giving that much money. And then literally the same day, another person called and donated another $10,000 and made it even bigger. And I'm like, this is insanity. And so in knowing that, what would you say to someone to like how they could get engaged with community? Like if they're in business, they're doing something, like what's something they could do just organically to go out and connect with the community?
Well, when I moved here, I didn't know a soul. I didn't know anything about Greenville. I mean, you can do all you can on Google search, right? But like you don't know anything until you move to this place. You're getting ingrained. I had a conversation with somebody one time when I first moved here, and they were like, do you struggle with making connections as friends, but knowing that you want stories from them? And I was like, well, that's just it. Like, I don't see them as like what they can give me. It's more just like, I'm here to be your friend. Like, I'm here to know like what you know about Greenville. Like, what do you love about this place? Like, what are some places I should check out? And so that really was a shift, I think, in my thinking moving here, realizing I know nothing about this place, right? Or like, I don't know anything about, say, a business that you're talking about, right? Or a business owner can walk into a room, like a networking event, where instead of like trying to see how many business cards you can hand out, like see how many you can get in, like how many people did you talk to, did you learn from? And I think that perspective has helped me a lot because, yes, I would love to talk about your story one day and like I want you to trust me, but if that doesn't happen, we're friends. And like that's a bigger win for me. So I think just like going into the perspective of like winning the friendship, winning the trust. And if the product comes from it, amazing. But if it doesn't, you're still spreading your name. You're spreading, you know, that you're just there to be a good person and get to know them.
Yep. Well, everything's a value exchange. And I think some people get themselves so hyped up because they're thinking like, what can I get out of that room? Like you said, and really it's what can you give?
Yeah.
And I tell you someone who does a really good job of that is Chris Sweet. He owns
he does.
Swamp Rabbit. And he's one of my best friends, and he's as busy or busier than me at any given time. But he is a masterful networker, and like his ability to walk into a room and just not even say anything, just support people.
Yeah.
And just see what that's done for his own business, like his leverage and connections and things that he does. Like he's just really, really, really good at connecting with absolutely nothing in mind. Like he desires nothing from the room.
Right.
And he's great at it. And so I think a lot of people just get in their own way because they don't know how to connect. Like find something that brings something bigger than just the business, because it's so easy to get inside of it and just think like dollars and cents and red and black. And
so easy.
But
and one thing I was going to just mention on that too, like even if you don't have anything in common, like Chris is a master, like you said, and like I've seen him do it. He's amazing. But even if like you don't like have that whatever like niche that he does, you know, like, hey, being like verbal and like communicating like, hey, TJ, like you do such a great job at this. Like, I just want to tell you, I admire this part about your business. And it's like, boom, off to the races. That's what like I've been working on more so like the last 6 or 7 months. Just like I'm thinking these compliments and like I have so much admiration for like things that people are doing. Like, why don't I just say them? And that's such a good way to connect too, where like, oh, tell me more about how you like chose a certain style for your outfit today. You know, like she's a boutique owner. Oh my gosh, that's so cool. Oh, in Greer, I love to do more stories in Greer. It's like, bam, you know? So actually telling people what you're proud of and like what you see. I know you do a great job of that too with your people.
Well, I mean, like, and to speak to you a little bit on this is like, I've interacted with so many people in the media world and this big personality thing, and like it's like this moment happens and then it's gone. And then with you though, like, you know, like you're connected on social, like it's not uncommon for you to like pop like, oh my God, this something, you know, and then or like running each other in public and you're like, hey, what's up, you know, to where people are like, who is that? I'm like, how do you not know who that is? But it's authentic, and I think you can't replicate authenticity with anything other than authenticity. Like if it's artificial at all, people know.
Very true.
They know.
Very true.
And so, you know, again, to build community within whatever you're doing is very easy if you focus on it and you put a priority in it, and like you're in the ultimate seat to do it because you have a great value exchange. Like, hey, I'm going to come learn about your business, but I'm also going to tell 100 million people about it.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
But it is authentic, and you know, I've done it. I've did the interviews, and then I've had other employees do them, and you know, it's a conversation, and like you're genuinely interested in it, and like you know, like it's not just a moment and done. It's authentic, and I think that's why you've had so much success, and why people trust you to come in and MC events and help host things and be involved in things that you could easily say no to. Like your schedule isn't that open, you know, like but you're a yes girl, like, and so. Yeah. Being able to step into the arena, it's built on trust. And I think, you know, there's tons of people who could probably put together some kind of moment, but carrying that authenticity through it to where it's like, we're friends. Right. Like I consider Ava a friend.
Absolutely.
And so like, yeah, I think people try to complicate it more than it needs to be. All right. Besides that, in Greenville, what's something cool that you recently seen? Let's shout somebody out. Let's talk something cool.
Oh, okay. I would say the Scuba Shop in Spartanburg, though. I know it's a little bit outside of the city limits of Greenville.
Hey, I'm a Spartanburg boy.
Yeah, true.
Let's shout out Spartanburg.
Come on, Sparkle City. So they just do an amazing job, and they literally built a training pool for people to feel comfortable, like literally learning how to scuba dive. I just did it recently, and I was amazed. He's been there for like 20 plus years, and just like teaching people how to do that. They go to, you know, Bermuda and Chile, and they literally just explore the world through scuba from a little pool in Spartanburg. I'm just like, what? Yeah. So that blew my mind. But, you know, I would say on the whole, probably Greenville wise, local musicians. I just literally lose it every time, TJ. They tell me their story, like flunked out in high school or like did this and like made a mess of myself, right? But I picked up a guitar and I found myself. It's like, oh, tell me more, you know?
Yep.
So, and I'm sure like you're well ingrained in the music scene too. And Screamo, it sounds like earlier from our conversation.
I like it all.
I know, I like it all too.
Yep.
But seeing just like artists open up, you know, they're such emotional beings. You got to be like careful. I like always want to like protect them with my soul. But no, I think just like the local musician scene is really what I love recently.
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing, like Barndo's thriving because Greenville's thriving. Barndo's thriving because Spartanburg's thriving. The state of South Carolina is thriving. There's so much opportunity.
Unbelievable.
And you know, and there's two sides of it, and I've shared this before. Like, you know, it is frustrating when it takes 40 minutes to go what used to take 15. However,
I would just like to say I am a transplant. I'm one to be honest, open, and just yes.
You're the last one we're welcoming now.
I know.
But because of that, so like because we are in an area where there's so much happening, it opens opportunities for something like Barndo Co. to start and in 3 years explode into what we're doing now in multiple states and cities. And I'm like, I get so excited and geeked out on stuff because like I'll go somewhere and, you know, we're launching that Knoxville office and like we're in a little town of Seymour. And so we're kind of like in between Knoxville and Sevierville and like going up there and like meeting local businesses. And we always join like the chambers of commerce and we're like meeting and networking, and the team up there is posting stuff. And I'm like, I want to know these people too. Like that pulls my heartstrings. It's like, how do we get involved? What up here can we support? You know? But because of those thriving environments, like it creates more opportunities. And for us, it's wonderful because the land of abundance and opportunities, everybody needs homes. And so we get to build. What do you think makes Greenville different than like other places you've been?
I had this conversation with somebody just recently, but I think it's like, you know, 2020 brought in a lot of people. Post-COVID has brought in a lot of people. And there's something about Greenville where no matter where you came from, somehow people just unconsciously adhere to like the values and the charm. You know, just the other day I saw somebody like fly off, to the road and trash came out of her window. And like this random person was like, oh my gosh, went over there and like picked it up and put it in the trash can. So out of her way, probably like 10 minutes. Like she walked to and fro. But just right there was like, she probably is from, some other state, didn't live here, but was so passionate about like keeping the city the way it is. And even on like the Greenville pages, right, of like, hey guys, like where are some places I can go check out this weekend? There's like 50 women on there who have like, I just tried this new hibachi place. You got to try it. Like everyone is so unbelievably supportive. It's like this chain reaction. You just can't stop. Like the small business support is so inspiring. And, there are some bigger people coming in here, but again, it's causing that growth. And so that is going to directly affect the small businesses.
Yeah, well, the big businesses fuel the small businesses, hands down. And it again, it's statewide, but Greenville is in Spartanburg too, like, they got a baseball team now.
I heard they're quite the trip.
So, yeah. But like all of that is like such a spontaneous way of creating new community and like putting a focus and an effort on something. Like you could do something so small as decide like, hey, we're going to partner with this nonprofit. And in a couple years, you'll be blown away at what it did. And like, and to be honest with you, giving away a big check is cool, but the relationship that we built with the people there, the kids that play ball at the Miracle League, and like all this stuff intertwined in our company, the people that work at Barndo Co. are at least as passionate, if not more passionate than even I am sometimes about how we can get more involved and more things we can do. And what's really cool is like we did such a good job of it here. Now, like we move into Dunn, North Carolina, and we move into Knoxville and all these other locations that we're working on now, like they go there with that mission. Is it tomorrow? Is the ducking the thing? Like, yeah, how wild is this? There's a Jeep. What is it called? The Jeep extravaganza of like Pigeon Forge, right? Oh. And so they're like, hey, this is the same weekend. So they ordered a bunch of Barndo ducks and they're going and ducking Jeeps and and so like
how fun.
But like it's just it takes nothing. But it's conversations now. Like, hey, conversation and you just kind of organically become a part of that community and being a part of it. Again, you got to give, but the return from it is so big. And I think people miss the bus on that sometimes. Like you don't realize how much value there is in all these other people. And you get stuck kind of trying to do it yourself and you can't, you're never going to unlock it if you try to do it all alone.
Well, even like the amazing check that you just gave, like you said yourself, like I was scared to throw out that number, like, oh my goodness. But there are so many people that do step out in faith, so many small businesses that like offer amazing things for young professionals. So now young professionals are getting connected, not just nightlife, like they're meeting for pickleball, for the whatever social, and you're just like, what, but it's people stepping out in that, uncomfortable space and creating it. So yes, Greenville has its charm, but I think it is so like self-sufficient to where people like you, people like Chris, like True Line people, I don't know if you're like familiar with them too. They're just creating such an amazing, I would say, just like incubator for ideas and creativity. And it's been amazing to see.
Awesome. Mm-hmm. Well, let me see. You've been in some Barndos.
Fantastic Barndos.
So I'm going to hook this in. The first time first one you walked into, what was the first thought you had?
You saw my face. I was like, what? The ceilings. I was captivated by the ceilings. No, I think the concept, I wasn't sure. I mean, I didn't really know about Barndo until I met you, until I was on the grounds. And so looked up a few pictures. I was like, oh, okay. Like maybe not my style, whatever. But I walked in, it was like, oh my gosh, this is so huge. And it just felt like you could live life there. So many homes you walk in and you're like, you like hold your breath because you're like, I can't live in here, and it's just so uncomfortable. But no, I love Barndo. I think you guys do an amazing thing there, and your team is so cool, which I'm like biased about.
Yeah,
but
no, they're the best. They're hands down the best. Mm-hmm. We couldn't do what we do without them, and so everybody plays such a critical role. But I like it because here's the thing: so many different people have that reaction when they walk in, and so many people kind of have a preconceived notion because if you don't know, you're like a barn house, like,
right?
And then you walk in and you realize like, oh, like this is kind of different, and then like I tell everybody that works for us, if you ever have someone that's on the fence, meet them at a property.
That's such good advice.
Meet them at a property because that's the difference. It's when you walk in the door, you go, whoa, I had no idea. And so I remember that moment. So I was wanting to tie it in. It was the best. No,
I got to
tie it in somehow. I'm glad
you did. Show, Big Barndo fan.
Yeah.
Right.
There we go. There you get celebrities. No. But,
yes.
But yeah. So what else you got going on? You got anything cool coming up that you can think of?
Well, I know there's a lot of festivals coming up, like CCMB. I'm there all the time, so interviewing some artists, seeing kind of what the behind the scenes looks like. I love, like I said, the musicians. But tomorrow I'll be live at the Bell Harbor pop-up luxury thing near the Haywood Mall. So that's actually kind of something that people are talking about, like, who's going to buy luxury products in Greenville? And it's like, there is a market here, like there are so many people in Greenville and the upstate. So it's amazing, actually. It's a positive thing that they would choose this city to pop up. And so I'm excited to see how that goes, learn a little bit more about like where it came from. I guess they were built from like Army barracks. And so it's like a shipping container, kind of like Gather is, but it's going to be luxury shopping. So I'm going to go check that out tomorrow. I'll report back, see what I find out. But, first time in Greenville, so it'll be interesting to see how the community takes it. Well, I have a question for you. What are you most looking forward to for Knoxville? Because that is an amazing achievement. Everybody, a round of applause. That's exciting, though.
I'd say that I'm most looking forward to Knoxville, the fact that for 2 years, I've had somebody at least once a week from that area message and say, can you build here? And we've had to say no.
Oh.
And then we recently said, yeah, we got, everything. They've been up there working for 3 months. We just been working to get the office ready, the show center and all the design center, all that done. But seeing people be able to step into something local, like the first 10 or 15 that we did, those people drove to Duncan, South Carolina to pick selections and do the process. And they were so excited that they were like, no problem. 3-hour drive, 6 hours round trip. For sure. Let's do it.
Yeah.
And so to put that there, and more importantly, is like to see the team there. Like Amanda left here and moved there. She moved her entire family up there to start that location. And the first couple of hires we have out there, like the just to see like this whole new little identity, right? Like they're like, we're team Knoxville, baby.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
And so they've just owned it. And like every time we do it, we get better at it. And so there's a lot of things, like we're opening a bunch of locations in the next 12, 18 months that I'm excited about as well. But the thing about it is like it's way hard. It's way hard.
That's an understatement.
To take something like what we do and then go do it somewhere else and do it well. And we learned hard, like starting it here was hard, but trying to run, like when we launched Somerville, launching those and running those, incredibly hard. A lot of businesses don't survive that. And then to be able to sustain it and get that one, and then launch done at the beginning of this year, launch Knoxville, kind of middle of the year, and know that we still have more coming. It's fun, like, because there's so many people. Like I shared a story earlier. I posted on social last night. The signs went up in Knoxville. And so I post like, so excited, for this Saturday to go up and check it out. The signs went in today. And immediately somebody comments, does that mean you can build in Kentucky now? And so like, there's always somebody wanting more. And so like, it's just fun for me. It's fun to see what's possible. And I honestly believe that Knoxville will outperform Greenville.
Wow.
In the next 18 months. I think there's that much demand. And that little area of Tennessee is getting so much, again, relocation, but there's so much undisturbed land there, and to be able to take a product like Barndo, where we're not going in and like grading 150 acres and putting 700 houses in, but like people are still getting a piece of the American dream, where they move into an area, they buy a piece of land, they build their dream home, and they become locals there. Like that to me is incredible, and to see something like that, where when we go up there, there's so much opportunity in Knoxville, and Knoxville kind of doesn't get talked about as much as Nashville. So when you think Tennessee, you think Nashville, but Knoxville is a little gem. It is everything up there's beautiful, but it does come with hurdles. There's things in Knoxville that don't exist in upstate South Carolina. Right. In terms of getting land prepped to build on and stuff like that. But I think that's probably the thing that excites me the most. The second thing that excites me is,
I only asked you one.
What?
I'm kidding. I know. I want to hear it.
What we're going to, who are we going to partner with up there?
Yeah.
In that office, and it's fun to like see these locations, like take that on, like, hey, giving's part of what we do. Where are we going to do it?
Wow.
And so they're out there like making connections and meeting people and trying to figure out, hey, where are we going to reinvest in Knoxville, or the greater area of Knoxville? And I'm excited to see what that is. I don't know what it is yet, but I'm sure they've got a short list.
I'm sure they do too. Yeah. And they know your name's coming.
Yeah.
Well, one thing I want to back up to, because someone could see your success of like Dunn and Knoxville and Greenville and all these different places coming in the next 18 months and be like, this guy's on fire. He's just throwing money out the window. But like you said, like you waited 2 years for Knoxville. Yep. So how do you balance like waiting and then knowing when, okay, like time to go?
Hire people to tell me no.
Yeah, there you go. So, that's good.
100%. Because in my mind, I'm like, we should already be in 50 states. Like I'm a dreamer, and I have like, and I will execute. Like, and that's the thing though. Like, I will do it at all costs. And the thing is there's a difference in launching and launching well.
Yes.
And being in a position now to where you have someone, again, that circle you talked about, like I have it in the company. We have a leadership team, and they work for me in a sense, but I work for them. And so when I have an idea, if they don't align on it, I have to listen because I trust them. And so there's always something we're thinking about, like, what about this piece of the puzzle? And to have all those perspectives in a room, now when we make the move to do it, I know it's right.
Powerful.
Yeah. And so I think sometimes, like your success is learning to listen, and not just be the loudest voice in the room. Like there's certain things, and you have to learn from everything that failed and not be discouraged by it.
So true. Yeah.
But you got to learn from what failed. And so if I know, hey, this failed for this reason, I've got to know why and how I could do it differently before I go test it again. And it's just a test. You might think if we would have done it this way, it wouldn't have failed. It may still fail, just failed differently. And now I got another test. And now I get go try it again. And that's just the game of entrepreneurship, is testing, getting the results, testing again, getting the results, testing again. And doing it, and that's why fewer people do it, because it takes. I mean, you're the bigger we get, you're betting the house
for sure
on these decisions. So there's a lot at stake to go and do it and not do it right. And so I would contribute all that success to the team that's around us now. Like, we have very good leaders in place, and they have a great voice, and they're not afraid to tell me, I don't think it's right. I don't think it's the right time. I don't think this is good. That's great. I agree we should be in this area, but we shouldn't be there. We should be here. Or, hey, I agree we should be there, but we don't need to be there until 12 months from now. And and we just operate that way. And so it gives everybody time to get everything how they want it, so that when we go, it can be right.
Right.
You know, and so that's the biggest thing.
Yeah. And really stick to, because what's going to work in Greenville, like, isn't going to work in Knoxville. Obviously, Barndo has a mission and a brand and a plan, but like the things that work here, like with the people and the culture and the community, you know, you can't replicate really, because Knoxville people aren't Greenville people. So that's
right.
even a whole learning curve, I'm sure, too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Every market has that.
Yeah.
Every market. And so, you know, constantly the biggest thing is constantly solving the problem. And what is the problem? People have a dream that they want to be real, and sometimes it can't be. Why? And I ask that question every day. I sit in bed and I wonder why. Like, what could be different to make it real? And so, like, I run myself crazy, and I can't implement every idea. If we did, we'd be broke.
Right.
But
selling the 9 kids.
Yeah.
Where'd they go?
Yeah. So, like, but I'm constantly thinking, like, what could we do differently? You know, like, what how could we get better? How could this happen? How could we service more people? You know, what has to be true? And then from that, your list gets bigger and bigger and bigger, but now you have like tangible things that need to be true.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so like in these new markets that we're doing now, like we're not just planting a flag and hoping for the best. Like, there's a lot of due diligence and a lot of planning and a lot of time and a lot of money and a lot of commitment that goes behind that, so that when it does come to life, it's working.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so you know that I would say that's the biggest thing, is like being able to roll the dice, but having a calculated perspective, because you're willing to listen.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you told me you were going to interview me.
That's good.
He's like, it's going to come out.
I know.
She's like, at some point, it's going to become.
But it's so good.
I love
We're all
it.
enjoying it.
I like it.
Okay.
I do.
Yeah.
Come on, ask me some more questions.
I know. He's like, I'm ready. I'm prepped and primed. No, that is such good advice and such good wisdom too. I think for, you know, young professionals coming up, or even just people, you know, seasoned business owners who, you know, either feel like they've been banging their head against a wall, like, I have so many tests, I'm done testing, you know, like that next one, right? Like, to keep going.
Well, I would say this. My wife says this all the time, because, you know, she'll have friends or something, and they'll be like, man, like, you know, it must be nice, you know?
Mm.
And she laughs, because she's like, you have no idea what it's like to be married to a lunatic. Like, you know how many ideas didn't work?
Right.
And then, you know, I think it's determination, a little bit of luck, and then persistence.
Mm-hmm.
Because I knew something. I had no idea. If you'd have asked me even 3 years ago, TJ, do you think this is your future? I'd have been like, no way.
Really?
Yeah, no. Like, it wasn't.
Oh my gosh.
It wasn't something. And I think that's another thing. Like, if you're having to fight really hard, it ain't right. It's not right. Like, it shouldn't be. Anything worthwhile's uphill, for sure.
Definitely.
But you shouldn't have to literally die every day to make it reality, because sometimes doors are closed for a reason. And so, you know, the quicker that you move to the next one, you get to find out, like, hey, I wonder if my key ring opens this door. Mm-hmm. And so, like, in doing that, like, it's the power of community. Ross and I met through previous businesses, and we just became buddies because, you know, a value exchange. And then, you know, one day it was just born in a field. We're standing there, and he's like, this is what I'm going to do. And I'm like, cool, we're partners now. Like, and like, you know, and then.
Oh, man.
And then
I love that.
Yeah, and it just kind of grew.
Yeah,
and,
that's amazing.
And, you know, that's the only thing I could say to, like, somebody listening to this that's, like, really just frustrated and stuck is maybe listen. Close your eyes and think differently, because it could take you in a whole other realm. Like, you know, I've been in construction my whole life. I've been in real estate my whole life. But what I had envisioned as my way forward was not this. This was just one of those things. And I rattled the handle and the door open, and I was like, hey, you know.
Step on through.
Yeah, and so we just ride this roller coaster, and it takes a lot of dedication. You know, it's not easy. There's nothing easy about it at all. But it's just a willingness to listen. And I think that, for me, I wasn't ready. You know, it's not. I don't think it's coincidence that I had this moment where, you know, I got into coaching and I got around a room of people. You know, I had a moment where a guy looks at me and goes, "You make good money, but are you fulfilled?" And he's like, "The way I know it's not true is you like if you had to stand up and say who you are and what you do, you could say your name, but then you are stuck. You don't know what you do a lot." And he was like, "Quit spinning plates." He's like, imagine what's possible if 100% of you was in one thing. And I couldn't fathom it. Because I was like, man, I got bills to pay.
Right.
And I did. And it took a lot, but it was the willingness to listen and go, I don't got this thing figured out. And what's it going to hurt me? Like, I'm an overcomer. I'm going to figure out a way to make a living. What's it going to hurt? Like, let's roll the dice. And so I did. I shut everything down and went all in on this and didn't make income for 6 months. And that's I think a lunatic part that a lot of people won't do it because of the uncertainty. So yeah, that's kind of it.
Wow. Well, I also think someone asked me this one time. They were like, who are you if you lost your job today? You know, and I think obviously our careers are definitely like a part of our identity, but like the community that you're building, like the connections, the relationships, like it is so much more than Barndo. Like what I do is so much more than Access Carolina. Like, yeah, it's a platform for sure. But like, if I lost the show today, it's like, I would still have like my hobbies, my interests, my, weekly meetups and things that, that make me me. And so having that genuineness, authenticity.
Well, I tell people that work in our company, and I tell this to myself, this is what you do. It's not who you are. It's what you do. We're human beings, not human doings. So who are you? And if you don't know, you need to figure that out. Like, what makes you you?
Yeah.
And I didn't come up with that. Like Nick Alfano said that to me one day. Like, we're human beings, not human doings. Everything about your identity is wrapped up in what you do, and you don't even know what you do. So how lost are you? And like in that moment, it made it real. Like I'm not this, and so we put a lot of emphasis on. Hey, I can tell you a story, and I don't know if I've ever shared it on this podcast before, but Heath, who I just did an episode, first episode, finally got him in here. We had to do a group setting. Good
job, Heath.
He's been a lifelong friend. He was in the band, and we just been buddies our whole life. And I was doing something else, and he was kind of playing with it because he was wanting out of what he was doing. And then this thing took off, and he was like, "What does that mean for me?" And I was like, "Dude, I'm going all in on this." And then there was a moment where he was hired into Barndo, and he had been working at this place, and he made good money. But he had a young daughter, and he was telling me, like, he was working, sometimes he was like second shift, sometimes this and all these different things. And he told me, he's like, I just really would like to be able to be a dad and have that time. He's working like 70 hours a week, getting overtime, doing all the things. And he came here, and the first day he worked here, they had just built a new house. And that afternoon, he posted on Facebook a picture of him and his little girl sitting on the end of a dock, fishing in a little pond by their house. And that was the best moment in that moment in time for me, as far as like what this place meant, because I made it a priority. I'm like, when you leave here, this is what you do, not who you are. Be who you are, and be there with your little girl. And he made that post, and I have it. There's certain things that have happened inside this company that I have like a little album on my phone of like those moments for me. And that's one of them. It's the first picture that wasn't just me and Ross. That was a person that had this moment that in his mind, he's like, hey, I'm fishing with my little girl. Like he's not thinking that. But for me, I remember like a year prior, him telling me like, I'm just burnt out, man. Like I don't have time to be a dad. And then day one, he's dad.
Wow.
And being able to operate in that capacity and not have to like battle your way through and make your priorities secondary.
Yeah. And in turn makes them better employees, better friends, better colleagues, all the things, because that burnout isn't there. They're like ready to go, like let's make change and let's go after it. Definitely.
Awesome. Well, I'm so excited you came on here and talked this up with me. And like, here's what I know is you bring the Ava energy, right? Yeah. We talked about that. You bring the Ava energy and you do such a good job of like highlighting on it. I really want to take a moment and just kind of like, one, acknowledge that we appreciate you. And we're glad to be in a market where there is an Ava that comes in and talks about businesses and does this stuff. And it's your job, but you're passionate about it. And let people see a side of you that like, it is real, guys. This is real, authentic Ava. And it's awesome to experience that and like, build that connection. And then it carry over into a friendship to where like, I know it's real. Like, and the world needs more of that. Oh, and I think sharing a little bit about your story and how you got into this and, that it's not just a job. Like you truly enjoy it. You're like, if I lost my job tomorrow, there's no question. Your story on your Facebook and your Instagram would be just as full, I know,
I'd be people interviewing someone on my phone.
Yeah, you'd be like
about that donut. It's really good.
But you that's who you are. Like you are curious and you're involved. And I think people need to at least bring some of that inside of their own personality and their own business and like become curious about other things, because if it's all about you, you've lost. And I think you do a great job of that, and I appreciate that. So thanks for coming on the show and spending some time with us to talk
Thank
this
you
up.
so much,
and
TJ.
I just hope that somebody listening hears that and goes out and like takes an active role in the community. Like the community needs us to be successful, and you're helping people do that. So
I appreciate it. We both are. Now it is time for TJ's Screamo solo.
Take it away. And cut. Thanks, guys, for tuning in to the Barndo Show podcast. If you're watching on YouTube or wherever you're listening to this content, hit subscribe so you don't miss an episode. And then be sure to check us out on all of our social media platforms at the Barndo Co. Super simple to find us. And then when you're ready to dive in a little more, maybe look around some of our available floor plan options or take a look at the gallery of our work, or maybe you're ready to connect with our team and explore what it looks like to build your dream barndominium, you can visit us online at thebarndoco.com.